Shumat Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj, Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Macharya Shrastha Ki Jai, Jai Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Gaur Bhaktarinda Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktarinda Ki Jai, Gopimananda Hari, all glories to assembly, all glories to assembly, all glories to assembly, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Guru, all glories to Shri Guru. So as usually today, I'm trying to glorify Srila Prabhupada and remember him. As I mentioned several times, it's of course more interesting when it becomes interactive. That means that everybody actually meditates about Srila Prabhupada all the time, and along that meditation studies the personality of Srila Prabhupada, his words, his actions, and his achievements. And above all, the message he left behind. As we know, the service to spiritual master is even more intense in a Vani as in Mapu. That means actually service to his instructions is actually that service which goes on. Service to his personal form is also wonderful, but it's temporary, because his personal form is temporarily manifested, whereby his instructions, they are actually eternal. And then there are two kinds of instructions. Of course, there are instructions which are for a particular momentum, how to spread Krishna consciousness. They are also spiritual, but they are of a managerial kind, adjusted to time, place and circumstances. That doesn't make them less valid, but they might be influenced by time, place and circumstances. Means how to spread Krishna consciousness. And then there are those instructions which are definitely permanent, forever. They are not relating to a particular time. They are just what they are. So, I can just start with some inspiration. There's a letter from Srila Prabhupada to Hansa Tuta, who praised Srila Prabhupada, for being so determined and to serve his spiritual master. That's actually the best appreciation you can express. Not somebody, oh, you are so beautiful and you are so wonderful and you are you are this and you are that. But we praise a devotee for his loyalty towards Krishna and for being able to serve Krishna so nicely. For that we have to know who is Krishna, and we have to know what the service should comprise, what should be the service. So praise without knowledge is called personal cult. You worship a person, you don't know who it is. And most of the time people worship various personalities in this world just because they expect something from them, or these personalities embody something to them what they like to see. In other words, they already have a concept how to actually worship a person, and they have a concept what the assets and what the beauty of the person should be, what the qualities of that person should be. And then if that person is, complying with the expectation, they worship. It's called pop star or something like that, or rock star. He's embodying a spirit which I like. The mood, the modes of nature people respond to. They're attracted. I just spoke with Oscar recently about that. how people are worshipping those who actually they see themselves in that person. According to the modes of nature, they are conditioned. So let's say satanic people who are obsessed with evil and something very dark, they would be naturally worshipping somebody who is of the same nature and who exhibit it so nicely. Some extroverted, really bizarre person will be worshipped by similar kind ones. Nowadays people worship people for their degradation, not for the elevation, but for the degradation. It's a typical symptom of Kali Yuga. My God, this hero is so degraded. I couldn't have even get an idea you can be so degraded. He is my hero. Wonderful. Look how he's intoxicated, vulgar, obscene. My God, he did something so obnoxious that people were fainting in disgust. It was unbelievable. What a wonderful person. This is Kali. Whereby, previously people used to worship others for elevating values. Or in the presence of this person, I feel so elevated because he speaks such an eloquent language. And he's acting in such a distinctive, elegant way. And he depicts something which is lifting my spirit so nicely. This is still, I'm speaking about mundane values. Why do you speak of spiritual values? Well, that's forgotten long time ago. That's forgotten, in the times where people actually organize their life aside of spiritual values. They were maybe even talking still about God, but because of ignorance about the personality of God and His nature, they were just concocting their own thing, what is godly and what is not godly. So that degradation started relatively quite early, especially in the Western world. So in India we find parallels to it, where more and more the priestly class got more and more proud and considered itself very exclusive. The false caste system was introduced. By birth you are elevated, not by the quality but by birth. Just because you are born in a certain family, then you are very elevated. It's a completely illogical idea. Because in Krishna consciousness is very scientific. It's based on practical result. Let's see who is elevated. First of all, is to be defined what is elevated and what is degraded. Bhagavad Gita clearly defines that those who are confused, they think completely opposite from a devotee. A devotee is somebody who is enlightened by an atmosphere which is like a day. Well, that's night for a materialist. When a devotee gets inspired, materialist goes, what is this? Chanting. For what? Worshipping. For what? Why should I do all this? And when a materialist gets inspired, hey, let's have a party, and hey, and here comes the alcohol, and hey, here comes something really obscene to eat. It's very nice. Hey, and here comes the woman, and here comes the sex, and oh, this is so nice here. Well, then you always get usually annoyed. Oh no, not again, the same thing. So that's exactly, you see it on a New Year is a typical example. Fireworks, and they celebrate a year, New Year, which is even astrologically spoken, who knows what it is. But they did make a decision. 1st of January is the New Year. In China they have another New Year, and in India they have another New Year, but here they decided 1st of January is the New Year. So they burn fireworks, and they are just but actually nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows who it started. And that's exactly where devotees go to sleep. Yes, when the karmis start to celebrate, devotees go to sleep. So this is, because spiritual life and material life are ultimately incompatible. So, Namsatuta is here in a letter praising Srila Prabhupada for something very, very essential for his faithful following of spiritual master. Prabhupada reflects, he writes to Namsatuta, Your appreciation of my spiritual master is very commendable. One who understands and appreciates the disciplic succession is certainly advanced, and we should always be very careful to give full respect to those who have so carefully handled this divine fluid of transcendental knowledge before us. Even a slight change will spoil it. That is why I have always been so careful to give you only those things which I have heard from my Guru Maharaj. So Srila Prabhupada, relatively in his preaching, you could very rarely hear that, and my Guru Maharaj said, and my Guru Maharaj did. It was more or less automatic. Like the biography, the only really extensive biography of about life of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, written by Bhakti-Vikash Maharaj, was written to great degree, so far he told me, with the purpose to actually show, to glorify Srila Prabhupada. Not just to glorify Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, but to glorify also Srila Prabhupada, because by studying the essence and the preaching of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, actually we learn how chaste and how strict Prabhupada was in following his spiritual master. In other words, we actually have a more deeper insight, how strict Prabhupada was in his preaching. And consequently, we can also say, well, that's what he expected us to do. So we are, as Prabhupada said, he's very heavy here. And one word is changed. Everything can be changed. This is a very sensitive thing. Therefore, Haribol, not possible. Hare Krishna. That's not possible. If you want to play, you can sit in the back, not in front. This is a lecture. I'm sorry. So it is, very, important for a devotee to understand, as Prabhupada points out here, the meaning of Panda. This is so important. Because that defines our way of action, our way of thinking, our way of perceiving the world around us. Shastra Chakshu means practically for us, Prabhupada Chakshu, seeing the world with the eyes of Srila Prabhupada. We don't have any other choice. We saw devotees in the past reaching and going beyond Prabhupada's, consider themselves being so intellectual and so spiritually capable. They can extract meaning, from Vedic scriptures, but outside of the range of Srila Prabhupada's commentaries. And then very easily you can get lost. Because Vedic literature is the vast. It's a very simple example. If people go to university, they learn about a certain subject. You are more or less depending on the teacher there who is standing there and presents to you what it is. You can say, I am so interested in medicine. Can you tell me more? Oh yes. But he has to also say something he learned and he has to demonstrate how to do that. But then you think, I am even more interested. I will come and operate on my own. I will get to go in a hospital and I will put a white coat and, I know how to operate scalpel, the knife. So I will go and I will conduct the next operation. I will cut the patient open and because I'm very interested. Well, you can kill that person, Even you have the same equipment, you have the same dress, and initially even the same education. But when you go beyond the merit you have, and beyond the abilities you have, and you kind of get more and more, then you may end up creating a disaster for other person and for oneself. Usually Krishna removes such a person. Sometimes people used to ask us, what do you do with people who speculate or who oppose even Krishna consciousness eventually? We basically don't have very much problem with that. Why? Because usually they get involved in a lusty way, or in a way, in a material energy, which in itself covers them so much that they have no even possibility to make some bigger impact on others. Or, that's very popular in Kali Yuga, they start their own little miniature movements. Internet is very good for that. Practically nobody, if you are nobody, you can still be somebody on the internet. You know, and then people say, wow, look, wow. And then you count the clicks, how they read your web page. You think, I have so many interested people. But it's just clicking. In people's life, no significant changes really. Not much really happens. People just sympathize with each other on a mental platform. But in a spiritual sense, you don't see people really changing their lives very much. There are so many things on the internet. But you don't see people suddenly going in the morning and because they saw something on the internet, they completely change their lives. But somebody who met Srila Prabhupada very quickly, almost instantly changed his life. How come? Because there was a spiritual connection there. And because Srila Prabhupada, in his most wonderful way, purity is the force, so in a most wonderful way, he actually immediately addressed the needs of the soul, and the soul did respond, because we are soul, we are not this body. And that's only possible when one is faithful and one is actually empowered by the Guru Parampara. Empowered means it is given to you, you are entrusted to fulfill a certain purpose. Srila Prabhupada saw himself always as a mediator, as a tool, as a medium, a mediator between his spiritual master and the disciples. Even so far, he considered actually his disciples even being practically disciples of his spiritual master. He just takes care of them, because his spiritual master is not physically present. So, in that sense, in his physical absence, I will take care of you. You know, we have even one example in ISKCON of that. It's normally not the standard, but we have even in ISKCON one living guru who has disciples in a presence of his living guru, which is a little bit extraordinary. But I was speaking to disciples of such a guru, and they have a practical experience how Parampara works. That the whole year they serve their spiritual master. They celebrate even his birthday, you know, that's traditional. And then when the birthday comes of his spiritual master, then him and all his disciples, they serve practically on the same platform his spiritual master. So they see their spiritual master running around and making preparation for his spiritual master, you know, even in a physical sense. So this is actually how Parampara works. You know, I'm not saying it's the standard, but it's for the disciples, it's as inspiring as them serving their spiritual master is to serve with him together his spiritual master. And this is Parampara. But one should be very careful always to understand. One should not jump over one spiritual master to the next one. So nobody has the right. Prabhupada told me, you know, in the presence of a spiritual master who is representing Prabhupada. You know, he can actually quote Prabhupada, but in a mood of service to his spiritual master, who can be only enlightened to hear his disciples speaking about Prabhupada. At least in the ISKCON, it is actually, you know, given a requirement and a fact that if you are not inspired to introduce others to Srila Prabhupada, you shouldn't be a spiritual master. That's, you are in the wrong position. Every spiritual master in ISKCON should be very eager to introduce whoever he meets to the founder Acharya of this movement, that's Srila Prabhupada, who is not even, you could say, an ordinary Acharya. That sounds very strange because every Acharya is special. But there are Acharyas who are maintaining the Parampara, and there are Acharyas who are expanding it, to a new, bringing it to a new preaching field. So, you know, so you find when you read in Bhagavad Gita that Parampara account, it's relatively very short, going back to Krishna. But there were many more involved. that you find in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There were many more involved who were representing the parampara, but they were contributing in that there were others inspiring others to follow, and they were maintaining the message, whereby there are few who just expanded the whole mission into a completely new field, like Srila Prabhupada, who brought it to the West, which was never practiced and never established in the West as a degree before. As a matter of fact, in most of the countries, people never heard the name Krishna before. Neither they could practically practice Krishna consciousness as bhaktas. So by his example, Prabhupada showed that, and as he says and warns here, the effect of my preaching is only in that fact that I never changed one word. That brings you, of course, brings the risk that people may think you are crazy or fanatic. There are many things which Prabhupada said which, materially spoken, don't make sense. Just from Srimad Bhagavatam, that we are not this body can be even logically understood. You don't need really a big faith. You don't have to be even religious. It's a question of logic. This is my hand, my head, my leg. In one lecture, Prabhupada picks up even a small boy like this. And this is a school program lecture. I do a school program lecture. Somebody wants to learn about school programs. We have students coming here. So, but this seems to be a very young student. A boy. Prabhupada said, come here. So, who are you? Where are you? What is this? And the boy says, this is my hand. And what is this? This is my head. And what is this? This is my leg. And then Prabhupada said, and where are you? And the boy goes, well, I'm here. Prabhupada said, no, this is your chest. So where are you? The boy gets completely surprised, He understands actually, but he has no answer to this. And then from there on, Prabhupada starts to explain that we are actually the soul, we are not this body, because this is my body, I am not this body. It's logic, plain logic. But then comes other things which cannot perceive with the senses, which are achintya, beyond sanjog, and even mental perception. We cannot see so many things. People have this foolish argument that I don't believe but I don't see. Well, you cannot even see your back of your head. So that means you don't have it. You cannot see oxygen in this room. Obviously it's here, otherwise we couldn't breathe. We cannot see so many things, which we actually know they do exist, but we cannot see them. So what's the use of our vision? That's the first basic requirement. So Srila Prabhupada was very uncompromising. He was simply presenting the vision of his spiritual master, showing us this is like that. And then you can say on a certain point, you must only believe. Yeah, but we do believe so many things daily. People have no problem to believe so many things. They cannot prove, cannot see, but they do believe them because they comply with their understanding. People believe. We are great believers. Like example, we believe in the satisfaction of this body. We believe in perfect eating, sleeping, mating and defending. And we work really hard for it the whole day. How to better sleep, better eat, better have sex, better this. But who is better? Where is the proof of the ultimate satisfaction? It's not there. It's always something missing, otherwise we wouldn't see any need anymore to improve it. We are always striving to this and togetherness. Where's togetherness? If everybody thinks only about his own satisfaction, ultimately, yes. So where is togetherness? Where is all this what we want? Where is it? So that we believe. Let's try harder, day after day. So that Prabhupada showed us there is no need to strive in this direction. So Prabhupada presented things in an uncompromising way, didn't change one word. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said it is like that. He simply rephrased it for our understanding, because like example, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was such an intellectual. that even the English people were impressed with his language and with the way he expressed himself. You know, Prabhupada even once openly said we should not read books of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. He said it very openly. He said, not because there's something wrong with them, of course not. But he said, these books were written for me, not for you.